Yes, women boxing is a sport that was accidentally just popped up. I was asked to give the history. My name is William Paul, or Dr. William Paul, and I'm the guy that set up the whole thing at the very beginning, wrote the rules and regulations, and I will give you a little history on why we did certain things. Well, let's take it back to the very beginning. Back in 1975, once at the University of Minnesota, Duluth, I was teaching some classes, and with that, a young lady named Patricia Wagner approached me and asked why I'm not training women in boxing. Formerly, I had boxed for the United States Air Force there at Mount Holm Air Force Base in Idaho as a United States Air Force airman. Now, with that, at the University of Minnesota Duluth, after telling a few girls or ladies about boxing, 10, then 40 showed up. And at that time, I was working out and they started losing weight. So that's the reason why I got started. Then they wanted to compete. I was totally against it. But the women equal rights movement was moving. So we said, okay, let's have a bout. No one had heard of it and it was not popular. There, the Perez was with us there in Duluth, and his son was a Golden Glove champion. And we put on what we call the Patricia Wagner's Invitational Boxing Match. June of 1975. We had several women on the boxing match and competing at that particular time. Well, we had several to win. Then a week later, all over the country, people started calling and contacting me. Of course, I was a student, and asked me what must they do to participate. I had no idea. So with that, we continued to train. And then I moved over to the University of Minnesota, Minneapolis in 1976 and 77 and 78. Start training. Carleen McCann and many others was working out at that time. Well, we went forward and I met a young lady called Sue Carson. Yes, Sue was a wonderful young lady, and she decided that she would participate after we had a talk a few times there in Dickeytown, there on the university campus. So we started working out, and I noticed a lot of good things about her, and we had other boxers. Well, she wanted to take it all the way. She wanted to participate. Well, we attempted to be on the card by getting Judy Clammer. Judy Clammer, Governor Perpich, appointed her. I got some Republicans and Democrats, and they voted to put on the boxing commission, the first woman to ever be on the boxing commission. Well, we did that in order that they can participate on professional boxing card because amateur boxing was prohibited. They said no female would be on a boxing card. Harry Davis was the director and also working with the Olympic Committee, said it would never happen. But he said we would try to get you with the AAU, so he worked with us. So with that in mind, we went forward. We went there and started protesting there at the fight in Minnesota. And with that, at that time, Don King, Howard Cosell, and Muhammad Ali was there. We wanted the women on the card, and they said no. So with that in mind, Ali got out there and started chanting, put those women on that card, put those women on that card. So we had a bathroom scale, and we're going to weigh our people in. Of course, it's an international fight. Well, with that in mind, Don King and others said, the promotion group with the Muhammad Ali said, we will work along with you to get you on HBO Friday night fights. And the next fight, the promoter said, we'll put you on the card. So that's how the professional fighters got on the card. Now, with that, they could not box on the amateur level. And I thought it was totally unfair. You're putting women out there to get injured with absolutely no form of training. But again, that was the system at that time. Then in Lake Tahoe, Bill Dixon and many others started calling me and asking what should they do. Well, I wrote up the rules and regulations for women boxing, but one thing I put in there, since I was a health science major and then public health, I put in there that we must have a breast protector. These women get hidden in the chest, and I was afraid that it may cause breast cancer because at the University of Minnesota Duluth, I was working at the medical school and dealing with some cancer research of asbestos fibers and herpes virus. Well, I was concerned about these women, the benign turning into malignant. So with that, I said we need to have some kind of protection for these women. As boxing brought the jockey cup, I said we'll bring the breast protector. Well, with that, Dr. Hancock, that out of Maryland, we had an opportunity to communicate with her. She had the runner bra. She thought it was nonsense. But I think she was out of Johns Hopkins University. And we wrote her and gave her the whole package and was concerned. Well, I had a chance with Miss Barfield, who was over the director of the women's department, and she told me to talk to Dr. Stoner, Leona Stoner, there at the University of Minnesota in biomechanics. Asked her to work with me with the research aspect. So we conducted an international research, and Dr. Arthur Leon, I believe he's still at the University of Minnesota. We asked him to be on the committee, and Dr. Nigerian, many well-known physicians to be on our committee. Well, at that particular time, we went forward. And we did an international search and found out there was absolutely nothing in the world that anyone was teaching at medical school or any place about breast trauma, the injury to the breast causing cancer. So the University of Minnesota and Ohio State, I was told, received over $2 million to conduct the study. A tremendous amount of research was done and found conclusively that the blows to the breast actually cause breast cancer. I did a little research while in the governor's office of planning and budget when I moved back to Georgia, and I went to Baptist Hospital in a few cases that women who had fell out of the bed and bumped herself up against the cabinet next to it, and it turned into a cancerous growth. So I knew that trauma was related to it. So with that, we went forward, and the conduction of the survey was taking place at the University of Minnesota, and conclusively that was that of the injuries that would cause breast cancer as well. Now, with that in mind, we wanted to make sure we put that in the rules and regulation. I wrote up all the rules and regulation. I made it mandatory that all women must have a breast examination beforehand. We're talking about head trauma and concussion. We need to be concerned about breast cancer. 20% of all the cases of breast cancer is with males as well as females, such as Richard Roundtree. Yes, we need to be concerned about that in sports. In the military, with women falling on their breasts and using the weapons and so forth. So we conducted a survey. And currently we have one, and at the end of this video, you will see the survey that I have out there that we're trying to depict from boxing to tennis to basketball. We want a survey, and we would like to see it in every doctor's office where we can find out whether or not and how can we deal with intervention. So we need to deal with intervention and some protection, and especially I came up with a breast protector that I feel would suffice. Now back to the boxing aspect of it. Well, since it could not be done, we went forward and received a certificate, which you will see in a few minutes. That states that we had the first AAU boxing tournament with women on it. Now, in November 1979, we went forward and went to the AAU National Convention. And at that time, we was adopted. Of course, it's a tough fight, giving all the material, rules and regulation, which we circulated throughout the United States. And the United States Amateur Athletic Unions, in other words, they adopted women boxing. This is the part of the story that most people do not know. They adopted as an allied body to the AAU unanimously at Caesar Palace in November 1979. Well, I was very happy for the first time women could participate on the amateur scale and perfect their skill towards profession. When I used to notice the professional fight, it just made me sick because these women were getting hurt and no one cared about them. So that's why we have the amateur sport. Of course, it took many years later, up to 1998 and all the way up to 2012, for women boxing to accept it into the Olympics, and it was in London, England in 2012. We're proud that we won a gold medal. And just because of that beginning with Patricia Watner, trying to let folks know that women have that same right as men to participate in the sport called boxing. Again, you can read more and see more by contacting our organization, and we want to make sure that you have an opportunity to know the true story about women boxing. We thank you for listening to what I have to say and also sharing with you the history of women amateur boxing. We're looking forward to the second debut, which is that of this summer in August in Brazil. If you like more information, please look on the internet and just put my name in there, Bill Paul Women Boxing, and you will see different linkage, or look at WBAN, Women Boxing Archives Network and put in the search engine Bill Paul and learn more about the history of women boxing. Again, I thank you for your attention, and God bless you.